right, we've got a visitor today, and we're glad to have him. It's Tom Davis.
Good morning, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. Now, I should tell you, if you don't know who Tom Davis is, he is running for a U.S. representative here for the 4th District.
4th District.
4th District of Tennessee. He's running against, he'll be running against Scott Desjardins and whoever the Democrats may have. I'm not sure they've...
Right. Well, I'm opposing him in the Republican primary.
Right.
So whoever then wins that Republican primary then will face whoever the Democrat is.
Right. And so we're certainly glad to have you. And a lot of things I want to... well, we can ask a lot of questions, I guess, because this is your time. Give you about 30 minutes that way or so. And but first of all, do you have anything you want to say before I ask questions? You want to?
Yeah, sure. Just kind of the introduction, like how I will typically introduce myself.
Yeah.
4 things to know up front about me. That's 1, I'm a Christian. 2, I'm a conservative. 3, I'm a combat veteran who I'm a little more optimistic now, but I'm still concerned about the state and the direction of our nation. And then 4, I'm a Republican. I served almost 25 years in the Army. I was a motor transport operator, which is a truck driver, variety of different duty positions, wheeled vehicle operator, squad leader, drill sergeant, platoon sergeant, and some other things along the way. I deployed in support of Operations Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Joint Forge. Currently, I live in Tennessee and Morrison, Warren County. I moved here in 2017, so I am a transplant. But I'm very happy to be in Tennessee, and so much so that I would like to represent the district. So, like I said, I made those deployments since being in Tennessee. I've worked as a property manager. I have started my own small business. I've set all that aside. I currently serve as the quartermaster at VFW Post 5064 in McMinnville. Yeah, and then I'm also part of the safety ministry at First Baptist Church in McMinnville.
Oh, okay.
And then doing the running for Congress.
And you're doing that full time, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
And of course, that's good because I know you're getting out because I've seen your name pop up at different places around the area in our district.
Oh, right. I was on the ballot last time. And,
right.
And I mean, it's a calling. It really is. And it started looking, it was in really May of 23 is kind of when things started stacking up, which put me into running in 24. And that calling is still there, so I'm doing it again. And I think we should have a choice, especially in the primary elections. Right. It keeps our representative who is currently serving kind of in check, if you will, or let them know that there's some competition out there. And as I went through the process and started looking at how I was being represented, I got to the U.S. House of Representatives and Congressman Scott Desjardins, and I'm not super excited. And I've kind of discovered some things or learned some things more about the process as I've been doing this, and they kind of do some things that can provide political cover. So he scores high on these on the internet as far as these conservative rating scores in different places. But if you take a couple looks down at votes and how they go and the things he's actually voting for, I'm not happy with them. One in particular that I'll talk about is the National Defense Authorization Act, which he's voted for pretty consistently, and even recently this legislation has the transgender affirming care in it. He tells us, or his excuse for voting yes on that is pay raises for service members. And I said, I served almost 25 years, and I'm good with pay raises, but not at the expense of what happens with this type of legislation, and just the problems it creates within the service. It's a detractor. So that's one piece of legislation. Another thing is his accessibility within the district. One of the biggest things I hear is we don't ever see him. Things I've been told when I've called Washington, D.C., because I started calling, where's my representative at, where can I see him? And I was told that they weren't doing town halls because it was a security concern. Now I'm being told it's because he's too busy, because he's the chairman of a subcommittee. To the original one of being a security concern, if it's too dangerous, don't do the job. I look at this. I'm looking at it like as a deployment. So if I showed up to Afghanistan, and I'm like, no, it's pretty dangerous outside the wire. I don't think I'm going to play today. That's a completely wrong answer. You know what you're getting into, and if it's changed so much since, this is his 8th term. If it's changed that much, it's too dangerous for you to tap out. Let somebody else. I'm willing to run those risks still, and then. So that, like I said, that's just kind of one of the things, the accessibility. For me, at least quarterly in the district. Videos, I can do those also to provide the updates, and people that want to be involved can be involved.
Well, that's good, being accessible to your constituents. I know that's probably one of the biggest complaints, not necessarily for Desjardins only, but for all, really, a lot of the politicians.
Right.
Of course, give them credit. They are busy from time to time, and they can't always just jump at a moment because they are tied up. But at least to have, if they can't at least get somebody to respond maybe to your concern or email or whatever, they can say, here's the deal, or here's what we got going on. Right,
and that's fair enough. And like I said, and that's why I've kind of said quarterly. So today they went back into session after 11 days off. In April, I think it's the last 2, but they'll have 2 full weeks off in April. So to me, I'm like, at least one of those days, you couldn't have like, hey, I'm doing a town hall, and let people know. And then I just did a video on it too. We have had, I haven't seen any of them pop up yet, but the mobile teams that'll go around. So he's got at least a couple ladies that I've met. And now for those ones, I can see, because I'm sure we see on the news how the Democrats and not only necessarily it's actual Democrats, but how their party has been hijacked. These people are insane. There's no other way around it. We go from, hey, we have to save the climate with all these electric cars, to let's drive all these cars into the, Boston Harbor. So I would actually be understanding of that, to not send these folks out. But the representatives themselves, they should be doing town halls. And it's like I said, it's part of the gig. If it's too dangerous, quit doing it.
Well, how many counties does the 4th District represent?
15 counties.
15 counties.
Yes, sir.
So, and a lot of those, like here in the Valley, I know it covers all the counties here in the Valley, right?
Yeah, Sequatchie, and then you're going Bledsoe, Meigs, and Ray County. So
you could really cover several of those. Are right close together. You could cover them in a day or couple of days. You can go around to the different.
Yeah, and to me that's how you kind of structure it in my mind is like I say, you got 4 quarters in the year, so pick south, north, east, west, somewhere that's pretty convenient to folks to travel to. Do it on days that typically are more conducive for people, which is weekends. That's a thing, I think.
Yeah.
Most of those mobile office hours that they'll have are middle of the week, middle of the day, which is not very helpful to people that are still working. Right, so right. To me, I'm like, yeah, let's do it on a weekend. Let's do a town hall, and because we've got this confused. The representative works for us here in the district, the constituents, the voters, and you need to be able to come back and look people in the eye and be like, this is why I did what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And so as I go about this, some differences that between myself, because we're both Republicans or running on that ticket, is guiding principles. One of which is I'm not going to compromise my integrity. I'm not going to compromise on the deficit, the budget. These guys in this continuing resolution that we just got, absolute nonsense. They've known since November this stuff was coming.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. They pass it pretty much in lockstep. We had Thomas Massey was the only one with some sense. And this is the previous administration's budget. And so all this stuff that the Department of Government Efficiency is cutting and saying this stuff needs to go, this is all in there. This stuff is all still in there. All the DEI stuff, the transgender affirming care within the military, it's all still there. And so it's done. So I'm not going to keep going back on that. But what we need to do now going forward is keep our eye on them. Mm-hmm. And are they going to follow this stuff up with legislation? Or are we just going to get, the nonsense? And so, and kind of that accessibility too, and what our representative is doing. So in those 11 days that they were off, what we get, or what I've been able to see, if anyone out there, on my Facebook or wherever, if they can let me know, that would be super helpful. But I've seen one posting on Facebook from our representative. There was a picture from 2023 of him riding a horse, and he's resubmitting legislation for the Soaring Act. And I'm not really read in on that, but that's it. And I know over in Shelbyville and in that side of the district, the horses are a big thing.
Yeah.
But this is what we're doing right now. This is our priority, is this legislation. How about you're submitting legislation to impeach these judges that are out of control, or you're at least sponsoring or signing on? I haven't seen where he signed on with Eli Crane, put some legislation in for impeachment of the judges. And there's one other one out there that's done the same thing, but I haven't seen where he signed on. Like I said, one post and 11 days off, and it's completely out of touch nationally what's going on. So and not to say he shouldn't be doing that. Like I said, I haven't really done a deep dive into that particular act, but I'm like, really, this is what we get.
Well, let me ask you about a couple of things that's come up recently.
Sure.
That I'm interested in. First of all, the other day when they were doing when they were bombing the Houthis, and they let that information, they were doing it over the phone, and it got into that reporter.
Okay, yeah, and I've heard a little bit about this, and I guess the information is still coming out about it. And I was actually I was listening to some of that coming down this morning. I think it might have been a setup, and they just for that reporter and to see, and then they just kind of executed it incorrectly. So, or a mistake on the part of was it Mike Walls?
Yeah.
So to get this reporter in on this Signal app and doing this stuff, and from what I've seen so far, there've been no receipts that they were actually giving out classified information. It's like bring the receipts. And then
because they record everything.
Yes. So I think that the kind of the jury is still out on that, if you will. And then if it was a mistake, that's on President Trump, the executive branch, to take whatever action he sees as appropriate.
Almost like a copy and paste, getting all these phone numbers that could have just slipped.
Yes.
Or like you said, it could have been a setup. Yeah, we won't know until
until we do.
Because they could have been testing that guy to see where their leaks are, because they do have their leaks.
Yes,
and so that'd be one way to do it.
Yeah. So like I said, that's still an ongoing thing, and I'll wait till we get more information.
Yeah. Now, what about being a former educator? I'm interested. I'm trying to look at everything when they're getting rid of the Department of Education.
Right.
And I understand the extra that's there, because that's in every business, right. all the extra stuff that they can all get rid of. But I know a lot of people are concerned. They think for one, because I've read up on it, that some of the funding in certain areas are going to be rerouted to a whole nother department, and so they're not really getting rid of some of the funding for that, like special ed or
right.
things like that. It's just going to be sent to another department so they can handle it. And but a lot of that paperwork, there's a lot of it out there. Right. About half the department, I think, of one of the figures I saw, about half the department were really not
administrators.
Yeah,
they're all administrators. Yes. So and yeah, I'm with him on getting rid of the Department of Education. And kind of my question is how are we better off since the creation of the Department of Education? And the answer is we're not.
No.
It's nonsense. They're not making the states better. And in my opinion, let's do less taxes at the federal level. Keep that money in the states.
Yeah.
What we tend to like to do is to have somebody else controlling our lives, and that's what this is. And they're not doing a good job of it. I mean, just look at even in the schools. What are we teaching? It's complete nonsense, and that's why we're failing as a nation in the schools. And how much money solves this problem? Nobody knows, and this is either side, because you hear the term fully funded. We want to fully fund. The difference is that's what you'll hear Democrats talk about. What you'll hear, or what I've heard Republicans do, is they'll give specific numbers. But the question is still is the same.
Yeah.
How much money per student do we have to spend to fix this problem? Well, one, the problem was created in the first place by the Department of Education, and second, that's not the answer. Kind of my opinion on it, one is personally, one, it's not a federal thing to figure out. It's a state thing to figure out, and getting the feds out of the way would go a long way to doing this. My opinion, smaller classrooms. We can take a look at the structuring of the school. We take 3 months off in the summer. I think originally it was because we were, a lot of agriculture, a lot of kids
Right.
helping with the farms. So okay, I get it, but times have changed. So why are we stuck on this model?
Right.
How about we break it up and make smaller classrooms instead of 2,000-3,000 kids in a school, and so I think we need to take a look at the structure of the schools themselves, and then get those smaller classrooms, and then teachers know their students a little bit better.
Well, the thing that I've seen over the years, and if my teacher friends are listening, they may criticize me. I am the president of the local Teachers Association, Retired Teachers Association,
Right.
but over my years, I saw that we began to test more and test more and test more. I know one year when I was in a related arts position, I missed 40 days of class due to testing.
Right.
And I thought 40 days, we're only here in school for 180 plus a 20 days of break
Right.
throughout the year. And so I'm thinking that's only 140 days. And you have to prep for those tests. You have to make sure you're teaching really what's called teaching to the test. They'll deny that, but that's what we do. And if you don't, then they evaluate you based on the test scores. And
Right.
if your students are not good test takers, which a lot of kids are not
Right.
good test takers, I wasn't. There's a lot of things that go into that, and it really messes things up. Where if you were to actually not worry, when I was growing up, we had one test at the end of the year,
Right.
and that was it. So that allowed the teachers, basically the other 179 or whatever days we had, just to teach.
Yeah.
And that day you could throw in a fun day every now and then if you wanted to, but they allowed them to teach, and if a child was missing something, they could go back. Now they have all these standards, and they're teaching like one a day, and and if you don't get it, they have to go on to the next standard because they can't stop and reteach.
Right. And this is something I saw actually pretty early on in the Army, teaching a test versus teaching the subject, and then accepting whether the pass or fail is on that individual, whether it's that individual student, the soldier. And so in my particular case, I was an instructor at the Army Leadership Academy. The primary is PLDC, Primary Leadership Academy, or PLDC, Primary Leadership. The academy. And so part of this course is land navigation, and we have our own land nav course set up. It's you're walking it, it's a compass, it's a map, and so we're supposed to teach them how to read the map and then how to walk the ground using that map and that compass. So when I first got there, what we were doing is we were teaching the test. we were giving a course walk out on our land nav course. And so as it turns out, one of the students failed. And you get 2 shots at it. You get the first time, you can fail it the second time. You fail it that second time, you're supposed to go home. Well, the student, said, "Hey, wait a minute," and was rightfully to do so. I don't think he should have got the additional test, but he rose a stink about it and said, I need a third shot at it. And so it kind of came down, and we took the hit on as the instructors. And my idea was I was like, okay, well that's fine, but we need to change how we do things then, because all I was doing was the guy that trained me. This is what this is how we do it. We do this course walk. We're pointing out the land nav points, because at the end of the day, your evaluation report as the instructor is based on students, how many people pass. So if we took that focus off of how many graduates we have, we'd probably be a little better off. Just teach the material. Success or failure is up to that individual. Give them the tools and more realistic tools. I've got my last kid is a senior right now, and I mean the structure's it's kind of weird to me, but he's actually going to get an associate's degree before he gets his high school diploma, because he did the dual enrollment and all that stuff. But even that, some of the stuff that we're teaching is completely nonsensical.
Well, there's so many things that we've added into education, like the DEI, then the transgender, and all those things, which has nothing really to do with education.
Right.
And that's my opinion, folks. But make sure you understand that. But if we quit relying on all this other stuff and just teach.
Right. And even life skills. And some of this stuff should be taught at home or should be complemented at home. But, I mean, basic math, or checkbook, how to balance your checkbook, life skills, different things, more along those lines. And then focus on history and civics, because it just tears me up to hear what I do. Like, they go to spring break and ask college students, like, who fought in the Revolutionary War? And they're like, Texas and Alaska, like, what are you talking about? Or who, the Civil War, like, who fought in that? And they're like, and the one guy was like, East and West. I'm like, what? but we don't teach this stuff, and it's got to be throughout your entire school career, if you will, that this stuff has to be taught and reinforced, because you give them what do we do now, like 1 week a year for a constitution? It's like this. No, that should be all the time. And I've been guilty of it myself. And as I've been doing this, I've been reading more books about the Constitution, about history, and very eye-opening to see. In particular, the judicial branch, and how they have, since he was the first one, John Marshall, the first Supreme Court justice, and how they've just been taking power away from the others. And if we actually look at how the Constitution was set up, that we have a Supreme Court in the Constitution, but that was it. And then it took legislation to create how many justices there were, how many, to include these district courts. And so that's where, we talked earlier about these impeachments. There have been more impeachments of judges than there have of presidents. And removals of these judges, because they overstep. So the fix now is Congress needs to come back in and put them in check, and put the judicial branch in check, because they're overstepping.
Well, so when they make a judgment that oversteps the president's right to do, like this alien act, it's there. It's law. And for a district judge to come back and say, no, you need to prove to me that you're doing your job right. No, one, you're a district judge, and this stuff that happened was not even in that district. So let's have Congress clean up the legislation and specify
this district judge can only take cases within this district. And we've gotten to this, this point where we let the judiciary decide everything. Well, is it constitutional? Well, the Supreme Court they are not supposed to change the Constitution.
No.
But we've allowed it because of how, and I mean, the Supreme Court decided. Start looking at some of these cases, how many times they flip-flopped on things. It's like, are really? So, and that's the other one, is like, let's take a page out of history as conservatives. And another way to take it back is change the Supreme Court. How about we add 5 judges and make it even? Tie goes back to the Congress for a decision. So hey, you guys need to figure it out. Talk amongst yourselves and do the thing. Right. Because originally legislation was 6 judges, and then they added the 3 to give us 9, and then that was FDR. He threatened this, and so those judges are like, okay, we'll start ruling in your favor, because that would have taken away some of their power to pack the courts as we hear it. Yeah. But break down these district judges, put that legislation in. So I mean, there's ways to fix this, but the question is will our elected representatives do it?
Yeah, and that takes me to another point about the illegal aliens and so forth. One of the things that has bothered me a lot, other than the fact that illegals are crossed across the border, I've got some friends who are, they are Mexican, and they have been trying for years to legal, because they were brought here when they were 10 years old from their parents, so they really didn't have a choice about coming to this country. But they have been trying to, going through the process, spent thousands of dollars to become a legalized citizen, and then we let all these others come in, nada. And then people are getting mad because they're saying, well, you're grouping them up, you're just picking them up and shipping them out. Well, yeah, they're illegal. That's what the term means. You're not here legally. Yeah,
it is. And I mean, and that is, at that level, I mean, it's probably worth a discussion about, for these kids that were brought here.
Right.
But nothing says they have to stay. I mean, that's like the pitch. They pull on the heartstrings, right? Our emotions. Like, oh, you're going to separate families. And well, nobody says that those kids have to stay here. I mean, depending on age, if they can go back with their parents. That's fine. But yeah, if you're here illegally, I mean, so, and maybe I oversimplify things a little bit, but I look at it, if you go home tonight and there's people in your house that are not supposed to be there, they're not staying. It doesn't matter if they've swept your floors, they've done your dishes, it doesn't matter. They're leaving. Yeah. It doesn't matter if family of 4 with no, they are not staying in your house. So why are we allowing them to stay in our country? It's not an us problem. I would like, it probably wouldn't happen, but I would like to see us freeze all immigration for about 5 years and sort it out. And then everyone that is here illegally, let's sort it out. You either leave, ideally, and cut some of and a lot of this we can do with the self-deportation. And this is where, again, the Congress comes back in and starts cutting the funding. And that's with the schools right now. And another part of why we're behind is because now these teachers are being slowed down because English is a second language. And we got stuff going on in Tennessee right now to bring that back up. Because I think it was an 82 Supreme Court case? Yeah. They said, yes, you have to teach these illegals. And so my solution, at least at the state level, is how about we require kids to come to speak and understand English to enroll. Right. That's a thing, because you're not going to school to learn how to speak and understand English. That is the primary language in this country, whether it's in statute or not. And so now these teachers are because you have to spend this extra time on these kids to teach them English versus someone born and raised in this country that speaks English. You're going to learn sentence structure. You're going to key in more on spelling and and paragraphs and writing essays. You're not there to learn how to speak the language. Right. So make that a requirement. But no, I don't. As illegal, I don't think us, the taxpayer, should be on the hook to
No.
pay for someone here that's illegal for their education.
No, and it's kind of funny that, well, not funny, but now that Trump has been president, that illegal crossings have decreased.
Right.
And I think those people realize he means business.
Absolutely. And that's where we need the Congress to keep up. And they're not. Like I said, President Trump didn't take 11 days off. I'm just saying.
No, he hasn't. And, well, is there anything, it's about time for us to shut down our interview. As much as I'd love to sit here and talk to you all day.
No, I appreciate the time, Glenn. But yeah, so it's the Republican primary, which should be August of next year. The dates I don't think are out, but yeah, if anyone's wants to follow me on Facebook, that's the primary spot, and that's Tom Davis for Congress. I have videos up on YouTube. It's Tom Davis TN4 or at Tom Davis TN4. I'm on the X machine, Tom Davis TN4. I am on the Instagram at Tom Davis TN4. The only weird one is Facebook, and they won't let me change it. So yes, that's Tom Davis for Congress.
Yeah.
So and if there are any questions, email me tomdavistn4 at gmail.com or info@tomdavistn4.com, and then website tomdavistn4.com.
Well, listen, Tom, I do appreciate you coming in and being with us today. And of course, now Scott, he's welcome too. We have to offer it to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're not opposed to anybody coming in. I'll talk to them and I'll ask them questions. I jokingly tell people I save the hard questions for the politicians.
Right. That's usually my upfront disclaimers. I don't answer hard questions.
But I'm glad you're over here, and you're just a short way. You live in Warren County.
In Warren County, yes, sir.
And I have my daughter and son-in-law are over there in Warren County.
Right.
And so I know about that area, and maybe we come and get together sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're over that way, and I'll holler at you maybe.
Perfect. I like it.
And we maybe get us some barbecue or something.
Yeah, we'll do
There's
it.
plenty of barbecue places
Oh my
over
gosh,
there.
yes, there is.
Listen, I do appreciate you being with us today. And folks, if you have any questions, let me read these. YouTube, you can go to @TomDavisTN4. Instagram @TomDavisTN4. Facebook is Tom Davis for Congress. Email is tomdavistn4@gmail.com. And X is Tom Davis TN4. So go to those sites and you can contact him in any way. Now, I'm sure if you email him, he will get back to you. He's a busy man. I know he's been traveling quite a bit and been around to several local counties and speaking. And so anyway, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, Glenn, I appreciate your time having me on here.
All right, thank you.
Hey everybody, this is Glenn Edison from Valley Views. We appreciate you watching our shows, and we would like for you to like, share, and follow us on Facebook, as well as like and subscribe to our YouTube page.